Hey everyone, hope you're doing great. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we'll dive into what if Naruto discovered his true bloodline was forbidden. Smash that subscribe button, and be sure to peek at the description below. Let's begin. The moon hung over the village of Konohagakure like a pale, unblinking eye. It was the sort of night that felt heavy, where the air was thick not with humidity, but with secrets. Naruto Uzumaki sat at the base of a massive oak tree in the darker recesses of the eastern woods, his chest heaving. Sweat matted his blonde spikes to his forehead, and his lungs burned with the metallic taste of overexertion. In his lap sat the object of his transgression, the scroll of seals. It was heavier than it looked. Not just physically, though the parchment was thick and the wooden dowels were made of dense, ancient ironwood, but spiritually. Just touching it made the skin on Naruto's fingertips prickle, a sensation akin to static electricity, but wetter. Darker. It felt like holding a living thing that was pretending to be asleep. I did it, Naruto whispered to the empty forest. He wiped his nose on his sleeve, his blue eyes wide and frantic. I actually stole it. Mizuki-sensei said. He said if I learn a jutsu from this, I pass. I'll be a genin. I won't be the failure anymore. He fumbled with the clasp. The village was quiet in the distance, but lights were flickering on. He knew he didn't have much time. The thrill of the prank was rapidly fading, replaced by a gnawing anxiety that sat in his gut like a cold stone. This felt different than painting the Hokage monument. That was crying for attention. This felt like crossing a line he couldn't see, but could definitely feel. He unrolled the scroll. The ink seemed to shimmer in the moonlight, the characters moving slightly as if they were breathing. Shadow Clone Jutsu, he read the first entry. Multi-Shadow Clone Jutsu. Okay, Naruto muttered, his hands trembling. Clone Jutsu is my worst, but if I learn the advanced version, Iruka-sensei has to pass me. He has to. He began to read the instructions, forcing his chakra to move. Usually, molding chakra was difficult for Naruto. It felt like trying to push water through a clogged pipe. But tonight, with the scroll open on his lap, something was different. The scroll seemed to be resonating with him, or rather, something inside him was resonating with the scroll. A deep, rhythmic thrumming started in his stomach. It wasn't the usual churning of a bad meal. It was a hunger. As he stared at the complex sealing formulas in the margins of the scroll, the text seemed to warp. The kanji 4's shadow blurred, and for a split second, Naruto thought he saw the kanji 4 bind and devour flash and red ink before returning to normal. He shook his head violently. Focus, Naruto. Focus. He crossed his fingers in the seal. Ram. Serpent. Tiger. He pushed his chakra. Usually it dissipated. Tonight it surged. It felt hot, acidic. He gasped, clutching his stomach. The woods around him seemed to grow silent. The crickets stopped chirping. The wind died down. It was as if the natural world was holding its breath, waiting for him to make a mistake. Found you! Naruto jumped, the scroll nearly tumbling from his lap. He scrambled up, clutching the parchment to his chest, and turned to see Iruka Umino landing on a branch above him. The Chunin looked furious, his scar standing out starkly against his pale, angry face. But beneath the anger, Naruto saw the familiar look, the one that hurt more than the yelling. Disappointment. Iruka-sensei. Naruto forced a grin, though it felt brittle on his face. I found you. No, wait, you found me? But it's okay. I learned a jutsu. Iruka dropped to the ground, stepping forward menacingly. Naruto. Do you have any idea what you've done? Stealing the forbidden scroll is a crime punishable by severe imprisonment. The whole village is looking for you. Lord Hokage is furious. Naruto took a step back, confused. But Mizuki-sensei said. Mizuki? Iruka froze. The anger in his posture was instantly replaced by confusion. What did Mizuki tell you? He said that if I showed you I could learn a technique from this scroll, I'd graduate. Naruto shouted, desperation creeping into his voice. I just wanted to pass. I just wanted you to acknowledge me. The silence that followed was shattered not by words, but by the whistling of steel. Iruka's eyes widened. Naruto, get down! He lunged forward, shoving Naruto hard. Naruto hit the dirt, the scroll digging into his ribs. He heard the sickening thud-thud-thud of kunai impacting flesh. He looked up to see Iruka standing over him, 3 kunai embedded in his flak jacket, blood already seeping into the green fabric. A 4th kunai had grazed his leg. Sensei? Naruto breathed, his world tilting on its axis. From the shadows of the trees, a figure emerged. Mizuki stood there, 2 giant shurikens strapped to his back, a look of twisted amusement on his face. It wasn't the friendly smile he used in class. It was the look of a man who was done pretending. I'm impressed you found him so quickly, Iruka, Mizuki said, his voice smooth and cold. I didn't think you had it in you, Mizuki. Iruka gritted his teeth, pulling a kunai out of his shoulder with a grunt of pain. So, this was your plan? Use Naruto to get the scroll? Naruto? Mizuki laughed, but it was a hollow, jarring sound. Naruto is just a tool. A useful idiot. But now that he has served his purpose, hand over the scroll, Naruto. Naruto scrambled backward, clutching the scroll tighter. His heart was hammering against his ribs so hard it hurt. What's going on? Mizuki-sensei, why did you attack Iruka-sensei? Mizuki hopped down from the tree, landing softly. Because Iruka is in the way. And because you, Naruto, are a pest that needs to be exterminated. Do you know why the village hates you? Stop it, Mizuki! Iruka yelled, stepping between them despite his injuries. Don't do this. They hate you because you're a monster, Mizuki continued, ignoring Iruka. His eyes bore into Naruto's. Everyone knows. It's an open secret. The adults whisper about it. The Hokage made a law to stop us from talking about it, but we all know. Stop! Naruto covered his ears. I don't want to hear it. 12 years ago, Mizuki's voice rose, cutting through the air like a blade. The 9-tailed fox attacked this village. It killed hundreds. It destroyed families. It killed Iruka's parents. Naruto froze. He looked at Iruka's back. Iruka was trembling. And that monster, Mizuki pointed a finger at Naruto, didn't die. It was sealed. Into you, the world seemed to stop. The wind, the sounds of the night, even Naruto's own breathing. Sealed in me? You are the 9-tailed fox, Naruto, Mizuki sneered. You are the demon that murdered our families. That's why you have no parents. That's why you have no friends. That's why Iruka hates you. No. Naruto whispered. Tears pricked his eyes. No, that's a lie. It's the truth. Mizuki yelled. Iruka hates you. He's always hated you. He's just waiting for the chance to kill you to avenge his parents. That's not all of it. The new voice shocked everyone. It was Iruka. He turned his head, looking back at Naruto. Tears were streaming down his face, mixing with the blood on his cheek. Iruka, shut up, Mizuki warned, reaching for the giant shuriken on his back. He needs to know the rest. Iruka screamed, his voice cracking. He looked at Naruto with an expression of profound sorrow. Naruto, it's not just the fox. Mizuki is leaving out the reason why you were chosen. Mizuki's eyes narrowed. Don't you dare, Iruka. That is a Class S secret. That is the Red Edict. You speak of that, and the ANBU will have your head before you finish the sentence. Naruto looked between them, his mind fracturing. Red Edict? Chosen? Naruto, Mizuki said, drawing the massive shuriken. Die. He threw the weapon. It spun through the air with a terrifying hum, aimed straight for Naruto's neck. Naruto couldn't move. The revelation had paralyzed him. I'm the demon? I'm the reason Iruka is alone? Iruka moved. With a burst of speed, the Chunin threw himself over Naruto. The shuriken slammed into Iruka's back with a wet crunch. Gah! Iruka coughed, blood spattering onto Naruto's face. Sensei! Naruto shrieked. Iruka slumped over him, shielding him with his body. Why? Naruto sobbed. Why protect me? You hate me. I killed your parents. Iruka smiled, a painful, bloody expression. Tears dripped from his chin onto Naruto's forehead. I don't hate you, Naruto. I see myself in you. Alone. Acting out for attention. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I didn't do more. I'm sorry I let you feel so lonely. Something inside Naruto snapped. It wasn't a clean break. It was a shattering of the dam that held back 12 years of isolation, confusion, and repressed instinct. He looked at the blood on his face. Irika's blood. He looked at Mizuki, who was preparing the second shuriken, laughing. How touching, Mizuki mocked. And how pathetic. I'll kill you both and take the scroll. Then I'll leave this wretched village and its forbidden child. Forbidden. The word echoed in Naruto's mind. It bounced around the empty chambers of his soul until it hit something deep in the basement of his being. The hunger returned. It wasn't the stomach rumble from earlier. It was a starving, desperate void. It felt like his veins were on fire. The chakra in his body began to boil. Naruto, run! Irika wheezed, trying to stand up but failing. Naruto slowly pushed Irika off him, laying his teacher gently on the grass. He stood up. His head hung low, his bangs shadowing his eyes. You heard him, Naruto whispered. His voice sounded strange. Distorted. Like two people speaking at once. Mizuki paused, frowning. What was that, demon? You hurt my person. Naruto looked up. His eyes were no longer blue. They were red, with a slit pupil. But that wasn't the only change. Around Naruto, the air began to shimmer. Not with the orange, bubbling chakra of the Kyuubi, but with something else. From the small of his back, spectral energy began to leak out. It was a deep, dark gold, the color of tarnished brass and old coins, but the energy wasn't flowing like water or fire. It was solidifying. Clink. 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 The sound of metal dragging on stone echoed through the woods, though there was no stone, only dirt. From Naruto's back, 4 chains erupted. They were translucent, glowing with that sickly golden light, but they looked heavy. The links were thick, jagged, and covered in sealing script that pulsed with a dark rhythm. They didn't hang limp, they writhed in the air like cobras waiting to strike. Irika, bleeding on the ground, looked up. His eyes went wide with a terror that transcended the physical pain. No. Irika whispered, his face draining of color. The adamantine, but they're wrong. They're corrupted. Mizuki took a step back, his arrogance faltering. What is this? What is this chakra? Naruto didn't answer. He didn't seem to be entirely there anymore. He tilted his head, and the chains mimicked the movement, rattling ominously. Hungry, Naruto rasped. One of the chains shot forward. It moved faster than the eye could track. Mizuki tried to dodge, leaping to the right, but the chain didn't move in a straight line. It curved in midair, snapping like a whip, and wrapped around Mizuki's ankle. Let go! Mizuki shouted, slashing at the chain with a kunai. The moment the steel blade touched the golden energy, the kunai didn't just break. It dissolved. The metal turned to gray dust, the chakra within the steel sucked dry in an instant. Mizuki screamed as the chain tightened. What are you doing, chakra? Naruto mumbled, taking a step forward. The other 3 chains flared out, surrounding Mizuki like the petals of a carnivorous flower. The chain on Mizuki's ankle pulsed. A visible wave of blue energy, Mizuki's chakra, was pulled out of his body, flowing up the golden links and into Naruto's back. Mizuki fell to his knees, gasping. My strength. It's not enough, Naruto said, his voice gaining clarity, gaining strength. The red eyes widened, manic and terrifying. More. The second chain struck. It wrapped around Mizuki's torso. Stop! Mizuki shrieked. I surrender! Take the scroll! Just stop! But Naruto wasn't listening. He was drowning in sensation. For the first time in his life, the emptiness inside him was being filled. The cold void was being warmed by the stolen energy. It felt euphoric. It felt addictive. The 3rd and 4th chains latched onto Mizuki's arms. Irika watched in horror. This wasn't a fight. This was a feeding. Naruto! Irika yelled, forcing himself to sit up. Naruto, stop! You're killing him. Naruto didn't react to his name. The Kyuubi's influence was mixing with his bloodline limit, the Uzumaki adamantine sealing chains. But where his mother's chains had been tools of suppression and binding, Naruto's, twisted by the hatred of the fox and the isolation of his life, had evolved into tools of consumption. Mizuki's screams turned into dry rasps. His skin began to wrinkle. His hair turned gray, then white. His muscles atrophied before their eyes. The chains were drinking his life force, stripping him of the very energy that kept his cells bonded together. Please! Mizuki wheezed, his eyes sunken into his skull. He looked like an old man of 90. Help! Naruto stood 10 feet away, his arms hanging limp, his face turned toward the moon. He looked like a conduit of judgment. The golden light of the chains was blinding now, pulsating with the stolen power. Naruto! Iruka gathered every ounce of strength he had. He couldn't let his student become a murderer. He couldn't let the village be right about him. Iruka threw a pebble. It was a pathetic attempt, but it hit Naruto on the cheek. The boy blinked. The slit pupils trembled. Sensei? Naruto's voice was small, scared. The distraction broke the trance. The chains slackened. Mizuki collapsed face first into the dirt, a withered husk, barely breathing, unconscious and completely drained of chakra. The chains didn't disappear though. They hovered around Naruto, twitching, agitated that their meal had been interrupted. Naruto looked down at his own body. He saw the ethereal chains sprouting from his spine. He felt the foreign energy, Mizuki's energy, coursing through him, making his skin crawl. What is this? Naruto panicked. He grabbed at one of the chains to pull it off, but his hand passed through it, feeling only a burning cold. Get it off! Get it off me! He spun around, terrified. Iruka-sensei! Help me! They won't go away! Iruka stared at him. And in that moment, the tragedy of Naruto's life compounded. Because Iruka didn't step forward to hug him. Iruka flinched. He pressed his back against the tree, his eyes locked on the chains with a primal fear. The chains of Uzushio. Iruka whispered, more to himself than Naruto. The World Eaters. Sensei? Naruto took a step toward him. Stay back! Iruka shouted involuntarily. Naruto froze. The hurt on his face was worse than any physical blow. The chains behind him sensed his distress and lashed out at the air, hissing. You're scared of me, Naruto whispered. Mizuki was right. I am a monster. No, Naruto, Iruka tried to correct himself, realizing his mistake, but it was too late. The air pressure in the clearing plummeted. The shadows in the trees lengthened and detached themselves from the darkness. 4 figures landed in a square formation around Naruto. They wore gray armor, porcelain masks resembling animals, and dark cloaks. ANBU Black Ops. But these weren't the standard patrol ANBU. They wore a red armband on their left biceps. Target identified, the ANBU with a weasel mask, Itachi's former squad, perhaps, or simply a generic captain, spoke. His voice was devoid of emotion. Code Red. The heritage has manifested. Wait! Iruka yelled, trying to stand. He's just a child. He didn't know. Silence, Chunin, a second ANBU with a bear mask barked. He held a peculiar-looking kunai, etched with glowing purple script. You are compromised. Stay down. Naruto looked around, panic rising. The chains whipped around him defensively, creating a jagged barrier. Who are you? What do you want? Naruto Uzumaki, the weasel mask said. By the order of the council and the third Hokage, under the provision of the Red Edict, you are to be detained immediately. Do not resist. If you resist, we are authorized to use lethal sealing measures. Lethal? Naruto squeaked. I just saved Iruka-sensei. You consumed a fellow Leaf Shinobi, the ANBU stated coldly, looking at the withered form of Mizuki. You have breached the containment protocols. I didn't mean to. Naruto shouted. Subdue him, Weasel ordered. The 4 ANBU moved in perfect synchronization. They didn't attack physically. They slammed their hands onto the ground. Ninja art! For violet flames suppression. A purple barrier shot up, trapping Naruto inside a small box of energy. Naruto punched the barrier. Zap! A bolt of lightning threw him back. The chains lashed out, striking the barrier. Unlike Mizuki's kunai, the barrier held, but the chains began to gnaw at it. The purple light flickered and dimmed where the chains touched it. He's draining the barrier. Bear shouted, panic entering his voice. Increase output. He's eating the chakra construct. Hold it. Weasel commanded. Don't let him break out. If those chains touch the forest floor, he'll drain the land itself. Naruto was screaming now, a mix of rage and terror. Let me out. I didn't do anything wrong. Let me out. The red chakra of the fox began to bubble up again, mixing with the gold. The visual was nightmarish, a boy wreathed in blood-red fire, anchored by gold chains that sought to devour everything they touched. Iruka watched helplessly as his student was treated like a biological weapon. Naruto. Inside the barrier, the sensory overload became too much. The conflict between the fox's chakra, the foreign energy from Mizuki, and Naruto's own panicked mind caused a short circuit. Naruto clutched his head. The world spun. The chains retracted violently, snapping back into his spine with a sickening crack. The energy dissipated. Naruto's eyes rolled back into his head, and he collapsed onto the grass inside the barrier. The ANBU held the formation for a full minute before Weasel signaled clear. Secure the target, Weasel ordered. Use the heavy shackles. Chakra suppressors on all limbs. Blindfold him. Gag him. Do not let his skin touch yours. Understood. 2 ANBU moved in, picking up Naruto's unconscious body with thick, insulated gloves. They treated him like a piece of radioactive waste. Iruka crawled forward, clutching his bleeding shoulder. Where are you taking him? Weasel stopped and looked down at Iruka. The porcelain mask was expressionless, but the tone was grim. To the deep cells, Yumino. Where the monsters go. The ANBU vanished in a swirl of leaves, taking the boy and the scroll with them. Iruka was left alone in the silent woods, next to the shriveled body of Mizuki, staring at the patch of grass where Naruto had stood. The grass there was dead. Gray, brittle, and lifeless. The chains had drained the very earth he stood on. Iruka put his head in his hands and wept. Naruto woke up to the sound of dripping water. His head felt like it had been split open with an axe. His body felt heavy, incredibly heavy. He tried to move his hand to rub his eyes, but his arm wouldn't move. There was a clinking sound. He opened his eyes. Darkness. Absolute, suffocating darkness. He blinked, his eyes adjusting. There was a faint light coming from a single torch in the hallway outside. He was in a cell. 3 walls of cold, damp stone, and 1 wall of thick iron bars. He looked down at himself. He was stripped to his waist. His pants were tattered. But what terrified him were the seals. His chest, arms, and stomach were covered in black ink, fresh sealing script. Heavy iron cuffs were clamped around his wrists and ankles, connected by short chains to the wall behind him. He was effectively crucified against the cold stone, unable to move more than a few inches. Hello? Naruto's voice was dry, cracking. Is anyone there? Silence. Iruka-sensei? Nothing. Panic began to set in. He pulled at the chains. They held fast. He tried to mold chakra, but the moment he did, the ink on his skin burned like fire. Ah! He gasped, slumping back. What is this? Let me go! Struggling will only activate the pain receptors in the suppression seals, Naruto. The voice was old, familiar, and heavy with sadness. Naruto looked toward the bars. A figure stepped into the dim light. It was the 3rd Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi. But he wasn't wearing his usual white robes and hat. He was dressed in battle armor, the black combat gear of a wartime commander. His face looked 10 years older than it had yesterday. Old man? Naruto breathed, relief washing over him. Gigi. You're here. Tell them to let me out. These guys, they're crazy. They put me in chains. Mizuki, he tricked me, and then Naruto stopped. He remembered the chains. He remembered Mizuki withering away. Is he dead? Naruto asked softly. Mizuki? Hiruzen sighed, pulling a pipe from his pouch but not lighting it. He just held it, his knuckles white. Mizuki is alive. Barely. He is currently in the hospital, undergoing massive chakra transfusion therapy. He has aged 50 years and 5 minutes, Naruto. He will likely never walk or mold chakra again. Naruto swallowed hard. I didn't mean to. I just wanted him to stop hurting Irika-sensei. I know, Hiruzen said. And he sounded like he believed it. Then let me out, Naruto pleaded. I'll apologize. I'll do community service. I won't steal scrolls anymore, I promise. Hiruzen looked at the boy, chained, scared, and confused. He closed his eyes. I cannot let you out, Naruto. What? Why? Because of what you are. Naruto felt a chill that had nothing to do with the damp cell. Mizuki said, he said I'm the nine-tailed fox. Is that it? Am I the fox? Hiruzen opened his eyes. They were sharp, piercing. You are the jailer of the fox, Naruto. You contain the beast. That is a burden, yes. But that is not why you are in these chains. Hiruzen stepped closer to the bars, gripping them. 30 years ago, Hiruzen began, his voice taking on the cadence of a history lecture, but darker. The nations of the world united for a single purpose. It wasn't to fight a war against each other, it was to eradicate a single clan. Naruto listened, entranced by the gravity in the Hokage's voice. The Uzumaki clan of the Hidden Whirlpool, Hiruzen said. They were our allies. Our cousins. But their bloodline, it evolved. It changed. They became too dangerous to exist. Dangerous? Naruto whispered. They could suppress tailed beasts, Hiruzen explained. That was useful. But then, some of them began to consume them. They could eat chakra. They could drain the land. A single powerful Uzumaki could turn a fertile forest into a wasteland just by standing there if they lost control. They were declared world enemies. The Red Edict was signed by all 5 Kage. Every member of the clan was to be executed on sight. Naruto's breath hitched. Executed? Your mother, Hiruzen said softly, was a refugee. We hid her here. We hoped the trait had died out with her. We hoped that by sealing the infinite chakra of the Nine Tails into you, it would keep your bloodline fed, satiated. So you wouldn't hunger for the chakra of living people. Naruto looked down at his stomach, at the seal that held the fox. So, the fox isn't the monster? I am? The fox is a calamity of nature, Hiruzen corrected. You are a calamity of biology. So you're going to kill me? Naruto asked, his voice trembling. Like the edict says? Hiruzen looked at the boy he had watched grow up. The boy who painted monuments and ate ramen and just wanted to be acknowledged. He saw the tears in Naruto's eyes. The council wants you dead, Hiruzen admitted bluntly. Danzo wants you weaponized. The villagers simply want you gone. And you? Naruto asked. What do you want, Gigi? Hiruzen took a deep breath. He reached into his pocket and pulled out something. It wasn't a key. It was a forehead protector. The metal plate shone in the torchlight. The leaf symbol was etched into it. I want to see if a monster can choose to be a man, Hiruzen said. He tossed the forehead protector through the bars. It clattered onto the stone floor near Naruto's feet. This is not a graduation, Hiruzen said sternly. This is a parole. You are releasing under condition red. You will be watched by ANBU 24/7. You will wear suppression seals at all times. If you manifest those chains again, if you drain another human being, I will not be able to stop the execution order. Do you understand? Naruto stared at the metal plate. It was what he had wanted all his life. But now, looking at it, it felt less like a badge of honor and more like a collar. I understand, Naruto whispered. Good. Hiruzen turned to leave. The seals will release in 1 hour. Go home, Naruto. And do not leave your apartment until you are summoned. Hiruzen walked away, his footsteps echoing down the hall. Naruto sat alone in the dark. He looked at the forehead protector. He looked at the heavy iron chains binding his wrists. He closed his eyes and looked inward. Deep in his mind, in the sewer where the fox was caged, he could hear the great beast laughing. But deeper than that, underneath the water of his mindscape, he felt something else. He felt the hunger. It was sleeping now, fed by Mizuki's sacrifice, but it was there. Coil upon coil of golden desire, waiting to eat the world. Naruto opened his eyes. They flashed red for a second. I'm not a monster, he whispered to the dark, trying to believe it. I'm Naruto Uzumaki. I'm a ninja. He stared at the headband. Uzumaki. For the first time, The name didn't just sound like a sound. It sounded like a history. A bloody, forbidden history. Whirlpool, he muttered, and in the silence of the cell, the shadows seemed to swirl in agreement. The silence of the cell was absolute until the seals began to die. It started as an itch, deep beneath the skin of Naruto's wrists and ankles. Then, the itch turned into a burn, like fire ants crawling through his veins. The black ink that spiraled up his limbs, heavy with the weight of suppression chakra, flared a bright, angry orange before fading into nothingness. Naruto gasped, slumping forward. The heavy iron cuffs clicked open with a mechanical hiss, retracting into the stone wall. He was free. Technically. He fell to his hands and knees on the cold stone floor, heaving for breath. For the last hour, or had it been a day, his chakra had been stagnant, locked tight by the third Hokage's suppression seals. Now, with the seals gone, his system was rebooting. But it didn't feel like the warm, rushing river he was used to. It felt like a drain unstopping. Naruto clutched his chest. His heart hammered a frantic rhythm against his ribs. Thump thump. Thump thump. With every beat he felt a pull. A suction. The air in the cell felt thin, not because of a lack of oxygen, but because his pores were instinctively trying to drink the ambient energy in the room to fill the void the seals had left behind. Control it, he hissed to himself, his voice raspy and unrecognizable. Don't eat. He squeezed his eyes shut, visualizing a dam. He remembered the advice Jiraiya, the pervy sage he'd met briefly years ago, had once mumbled about focus, though he hadn't understood it then. Close the gates. Slowly, the pulling sensation in his gut subsided. The air in the room grew still again. Naruto opened his eyes. In the dim light of the hallway torch, he saw the forehead protector lying on the floor where Hiruzen had tossed it. The metal plate caught the flickering firelight, the symbol of the leaf. He reached out, his hand trembling. His fingernails looked normal. The golden, spectral chains were gone. But he could feel them. They were coiled around his spine, dormant, like snakes sleeping in the winter, waiting for the warmth of prey to wake them up. He tied the protector around his forehead. The fabric felt rough against his skin. It didn't feel like a victory. It felt like a warning label. Class S threat, the ANBU had called him. World Eater. Naruto pushed himself to his feet, using the wall for support. His legs felt like jelly. He stumbled toward the open cell door. There were no guards in the hallway, just long, stretching shadows and the smell of mildew. He walked. The path out of the containment facility, which Naruto realized with a start was located directly beneath the Hokage monument, was a labyrinth of gray concrete and steel doors. He kept his head down, afraid that if he looked up, he'd see another ANBU ready to incinerate him. When he finally pushed open the heavy steel door that led to the surface, the morning sun blinded him. It was early. The village was just waking up. Shopkeepers were sweeping their fronts. The smell of baking bread was drifting from the commercial district. It was the same Konoha he had lived in for 12 years, but it looked different. To Naruto's eyes, the world had lost its saturation. The buildings, the trees, the sky, they looked flat. The only things that had color were the people. A woman walking a dog passed by on the other side of the street. To Naruto, she wasn't just a woman. She was a bundle of soft, blue light. The dog was a smaller, brighter spark of yellow. He could see the energy humming inside them, keeping them alive, fueling their movements, and his stomach growled, not a rumble of hunger for food. A predatory growl. His mouth watered. A sudden, intrusive thought flashed through his mind, if I touch her, the cold will go away. Naruto slapped his own face hard. The sting grounded him. Stop it, he whispered, horrified. That's Mrs. Shimi. She gave you a bun once. Don't look at her like she's a battery. He pulled the collar of his orange jacket up, hiding his face, and ran. He ran not with the ninja speed he was learning to master, but with the clumsy desperation of a child fleeing a nightmare. Naruto's apartment was exactly as he had left it, which felt wrong. The carton of milk was still on the table. The pile of dirty laundry was still in the corner. It had only been 24 hours since he stole the scroll, but it felt like he had been gone for a decade. The boy who had lived here, the loud, obnoxious prankster who painted the monument, felt like a stranger. A ghost. Naruto locked the door. He engaged the deadbolt. Then he dragged a chair under the doorknob. Then he checked the window latch. Paranoia. A new friend. He collapsed onto his bed, staring at the ceiling. The water stain shaped like a mushroom was still there. Hey, he whispered. Fox? He waited. Usually, when he reached out with his mind, he was met with silence or a vague sense of malice. Today, the response was immediate. You reek of fear, brat, the voice boomed in his head. It wasn't just sound, it was vibration. And you reek of that wretched metal. Naruto closed his eyes and found himself in the sewer. The mindscape was different. The water, which usually came up to his ankles, was receding. The floor of the sewer was drying out, cracking. He walked toward the massive cage. The darkness behind the bars was absolute, save for the two colossal, slit eyes glowing crimson. The Ninetales was lying down, its massive head resting on its paws. But it didn't look relaxed. It looked tired. The water, Naruto said, looking at the floor. Where did it go? You drank it, the fox snarled, baring teeth the size of claymores. Or rather, your blood did. Those chains of yours, they are a nuisance. Naruto gripped the bars of the cage, ignoring the searing heat. The Hokage said, he said you're feeding me? That you're the only reason I haven't eaten people yet. The fox let out a low, rumbling laugh that shook the walls. Sarutobi is a sentimental fool, but he is not a liar in this regard. My chakra is infinite. Your hunger is a bottomless pit. It is a symbiotic parasite's waltz we dance, boy. I provide the power, and you keep me from exploding. Exploding? If I were not constantly being drained by your genetic defect, the fox sneered, my chakra would have dissolved your puny body years ago. You are a bucket with a hole in the bottom, and I am the ocean being poured into it. Naruto slid down the bars, sitting on the drying concrete. I almost killed Mizuki. He survived, the fox scoffed. Unfortunately. I would have preferred he die. He was annoying. I liked the way it felt, Naruto confessed, his voice barely a whisper. When the chains touched him, it felt like finally taking a breath after holding it my whole life. It felt good. The fox's eyes narrowed. That is the curse of the whirlpool. They were addicts, all of them. Addicted to power. That is why the nation slaughtered them. They were afraid. Am I going to hurt Irika-sensei? Naruto asked, looking up at the beast. Or Sakura? Or the old man? The fox shifted, the massive tails swishing in the darkness. That depends on your will, little jailer. Your seal is loosening. The more emotion you feel, rage, fear, desperation, the more the chains will seek to emerge. If you lose control, you will eat everything you love. And then, when there is nothing left, you will try to eat me. The fox leaned forward, its snout pressing against the bars. And I do not like being eaten. Naruto woke up with a gasp. He was sweating. A sharp knock on his door made him jump nearly to the ceiling. Naruto Uzumaki, a muffled voice came through the wood. Open up. You have been summoned. The walk to the Hokage's tower was different this time. He was flanked by two Anbu. They didn't touch him. They walked a precise 6 feet away from him at all times, their hands hovering near their weapons. The villagers noticed. Look, a whisper from a vegetable stall. Anbu escort? Did he do something again? I heard he put a teacher in the hospital. I heard he killed Mizuki. Shoo! Don't look at him. Naruto kept his eyes on his feet. The urge to look at their chakra signatures was itching behind his eyelids. Just one look. Just a taste. He bit his tongue until he tasted copper. When they reached the Hokage's office, the Anbu didn't open the door. They waited for Naruto to do it. He pushed the heavy oak doors open. The office was filled with smoke. Hiruzen Sarutobi sat behind his desk, his pipe in hand. But he wasn't alone. Sitting on the couch to the side were two elderly advisors, Hamura Mitokado and Koharu Yuditane, and standing by the window, looking out at the village with a singular, visible eye, was a man with a bandaged face and an X-shaped scar on his chin, Danzo Shimura. Naruto felt a spike of cold dread. He didn't know who the bandaged man was, but his chakra, it felt wrong. It felt like sludge. Dark, sticky, and full of stolen things. Naruto, Hiruzen said. His voice was weary. Come in. Close the door. Naruto obeyed. He stood in the center of the room, feeling small. Is this him? Koharu adjusted her glasses, peering at Naruto with undisguised distaste. He looks exactly like Minato. It's unsettling. The likeness is superficial, Hamura grunted. The chakra signature is entirely Kushina. It's unstable. I can feel the agitation from here. Enough, Hiruzen said sharply. We are not here to critique his appearance. Danzo turned from the window. His single eye bore into Naruto. We are here to decide if the weapon is functional, or if it needs to be decommissioned. I'm not a weapon! Naruto shouted, the sudden burst of defiance surprising even him. And I'm not a monster. I'm Naruto. Are you? Danzo walked forward, his cane tapping rhythmically on the floor. Yesterday, you reduced the chunin of this village to a geriatric cripple in less than 60 seconds. You utilized a bloodline limit that has been banned by international treaty for 3 decades. You are a walking violation of the peace, boy. Danzo, Hiruzen warned, his killing intent flaring briefly. The room temperature dropped. I called this meeting to explain the situation to Naruto, not to have you threaten him. He needs to know the stakes, Danzo countered, unfazed. He thinks this is a game. He thinks wearing that headband makes him a ninja. He needs to understand what he is. Hiruzen sighed, waving his hand for Naruto to step closer. Naruto. Yesterday, I told you the basics. Today, you must understand the history. You need to know why the chains exist. Hiruzen stood up and walked to a large map on the wall. He pointed to a small island nation off the coast of the Land of Fire. It was crossed out in red ink. Yuzushiobikure, Hiruzen said. The village hidden in the whirling tides. They were the masters of Fuinjutsu, sealing arts. They were the cousins of the Senju clan, the founders of Konoha. For generations, we were allies. The spiral on the back of your jacket? That is their symbol. We wear it to honor their memory. Naruto touched the red spiral on his shoulder. He had always thought it was just a design. They were powerful, Hiruzen continued. Too powerful. You see, normal ninja mold chakra. We take physical energy and spiritual energy, mix them, and release it. But the Uzumaki, their bodies were different. Their cells didn't just produce chakra, they craved it. They were naturally attuned to the energy of nature. Like Sage Mode? Naruto asked, remembering a story. A corrupted version, Koharu interjected sharply. A sage gathers nature energy and balances it. An Uzumaki, if untrained or mutated, simply devours it. They don't balance anything. They consume. Hiruzen nodded gravely. As their power grew, so did the fear of the other nations. Kumo, Iwa, Kiri, they realized that if the Uzumaki ever decided to conquer the world, no one could stop them. They could seal our tailed beasts. They could drain our armies. They could wither our crops. So they killed them, Naruto whispered. It was a massacre, Hiruzen said, his voice dropping. A coalition of 3 great nations launched a surprise attack. Uzushio fought back. The ocean turned red for weeks. They took thousands of enemies with them, but eventually, they were overwhelmed. The village was razed. The survivors were hunted down like animals. The Red Edict, Danzo spoke up, was the treaty signed after the war. It stated that any surviving member of the Uzumaki royalty, those possessing the adamantine chains, was to be treated as a localized natural disaster. Immediate termination. Naruto felt sick. So my mom, she was royalty? Kushina Uzumaki, Hiruzen said, his eyes softening. She was the princess of the whirlpool. She was brought here before the fall, to be the vessel for the 9 tails. She was special, Naruto. Her chains were strong, but she had control. She never hungered, the way you do. Why am I different? Naruto asked, tears stinging his eyes. Why am I the monster? Because of the fox, Hamura stated coldly. And because of your father. Naruto looked up. My father? You knew him? Who was he? Was he a drunk? A nobody? The room went silent. Hiruzen looked at the advisors, then at Danzo. Danzo gave a slight, almost imperceptible nod. The secret could no longer be kept if the boy was to be controlled. Hiruzen walked back to his desk and picked up a framed photo that usually lay face down. He handed it to Naruto. It was a picture of a man with bright yellow hair, blue eyes, and a warm, confident smile. He was wearing the Hokage cloak with the kanji 4/4 on the back. Naruto stared at the photo. He looked in a mirror every day. He knew that face. The fourth Hokage? Naruto looked at Hiruzen, confused. Why are you showing me this? Because, Hiruzen said, sitting down heavily. Minato Namikaze was your father. The world tilted. Naruto gripped the photo frame so hard the glass cracked. The fourth? The hero? But he died saving the village. He killed the fox. He sealed the fox, Hiruzen corrected. Into his own son. Why? Naruto screamed. The anguish in his voice cracked the composure of the room. If he was my dad, why did he do this to me? Why did he make me a monster? Hubris, Danzo said softly. Naruto whipped his head around to glare at the bandaged man. Minato was a genius, Danzo explained, his tone almost admiring yet cruel. But he was arrogant. He knew the Uzumaki bloodline was unstable in you. He knew the edict demanded your death the moment you were born. But he believed he could use his sealing mastery to fix you. Danzo stepped closer, towering over the boy. He believed that if he sealed the strongest chakra construct in existence, the Nine Tails, into your gut, it would act as a permanent food source for your bloodline. He thought the fox's chakra would satisfy your hunger, allowing you to live a normal life. He thought he could cheat biology with Fuinjutsu. He was wrong, Naruto whispered, looking down at his stomach. He wasn't entirely wrong, Hiruzen said gently. It worked for 12 years. But the seal is weakening. And as you hit puberty, your Uzumaki genes are becoming more aggressive. The fox's chakra isn't enough anymore. You are beginning to crave variety. You are beginning to crave human chakra. Naruto felt like he was going to vomit. His father, the greatest hero in the village, hadn't just saved the village. He had turned his son into a science experiment to skirt international law. So I'm illegal, Naruto said hollowly. I'm a walking crime. Yes, Koharu said. And that brings us to the conditions of your release. Hiruzen pulled a scroll from his desk. Naruto, listen closely. This is the only way you survive. He unrolled the document. 1. Hiruzen read. You are forbidden from leaving the village without a Jonin-level escort approved by the council. If you attempt to flee, you will be designated a rogue ninja and liquidated. 2. You are forbidden from using the adamantine chains. If they manifest, you must report to the hospital immediately for suppression seals. If you consume another human being, regardless of the circumstances, even self-defense, you will be executed. Naruto nodded numbly. 3. Hiruzen paused. He looked pained. You are ineligible for the rank of Chunin or Jonin. You may operate as a genin, but you cannot hold command authority. A being with your condition cannot be trusted with the lives of subordinates. Naruto felt a sharp crack in his chest. His dream. And the Hokage? Naruto asked, his voice barely audible. Can I still be Hokage? Hiruzen looked at the boy. He could have lied. He could have given him false hope. But after the events of last night, false hope was dangerous. Naruto, Hiruzen said softly. The Hokage is the shepherd of the village. A wolf cannot guard the sheep. If the other nations learn that a devouring Uzumaki led Konoha, they would unite to destroy us, just as they destroyed Uzushio. Naruto lowered his head. The tears finally fell, dripping onto the cracked glass of the photo in his hands. So I have no future, he said. You have a life, Hiruzen said firmly. Which is more than the edict allows. You have a chance to prove them wrong. Prove that you are more than your hunger. Prove that Minato's gamble wasn't a mistake. Hiruzen stood up and walked around the desk. He placed a hand on Naruto's shoulder. The contact was warm, but Naruto flinched, terrified he might accidentally drain the old man. Hiruzen didn't pull away. He squeezed. Go to the academy tomorrow, Hiruzen commanded. Your team assignments will be given. I have placed you with a Jonin who possesses a unique eye. He will be able to watch your chakra flow. If you start to slip, he will stop you. Kakashi Hatake, Danzo muttered. Another sentimental choice. Go, Naruto, Hiruzen said. And keep the photo. Naruto clutched the picture of the father who had cursed him. He turned and walked out of the office, the weight of the truth crushing his shoulders. As the door closed, Danzo looked at Hiruzen. You are delaying the inevitable, Hiruzen. The boy will taste power again. And once a tiger tastes man-flesh, it never goes back to cattle. He is not a tiger, Hiruzen said, relighting his pipe, though his hands shook. He is a child of the will of fire. He is a child of the whirlpool, Danzo corrected. And the whirlpool drowns everything it touches. Naruto didn't go home. He couldn't. The apartment felt like a prison cell now. He wandered to the training grounds, Training Ground 3. It was empty. The 3 wooden logs used for target practice stood silently in the center of the clearing. Naruto sat on the grass, staring at the logs. My dad, he thought. My dad was the 4th. He should have been happy. He should have been bragging to everyone. See? I'm not a nobody, but he couldn't tell anyone. It was a secret. Another layer of lies on top of the demon in his gut. He saved everyone, Naruto muttered to the grass. But he sacrificed me. He looked at his hands. He focused. He wanted to see if he could control it. Chakra, he whispered. He molded a small amount. Immediately, the golden light flickered around his fingers. It wasn't the blue chakra of a normal ninja. It was the dense, heavy gold of the Uzumaki. The grass beneath him began to brown. Naruto yanked his hands up. In just 3 seconds, he had drained the life out of a 2-foot patch of clover. God, he gasped. He looked at the wooden logs. He stood up and walked over to one. He placed his hand on the wood. It was dead wood, surely it wouldn't matter. He pushed his chakra. Crack. The log didn't explode. It imploded. The wood turned gray, then crumbled into dust, collapsing into a pile of sawdust. He had drained the residual structural integrity of the cellulose. Naruto stared at the pile of dust. I can't touch anyone, he realized with dawning horror. I can never hold a girl's hand. I can never hug a friend. I can't even spar without risking killing them. Impressive destructive power. Naruto spun around. Perched on the memorial stone, the stone with the names of the Kia ninja, was a man with gravity-defying silver hair and a mask covering the lower half of his face. He was reading a small orange book. Who are you? Naruto barked, hiding his hands behind his back. The man closed the book. He looked at the pile of sawdust, then at Naruto. His visible eye curved into a closed-eyed smile. Yo, the man said lazily. I'm Kakashi. I'm going to be your teacher starting tomorrow. I thought I'd come get a look at the problem, early. The problem? Naruto narrowed his eyes. You mean me? Kakashi hopped down. He didn't approach Naruto. He stayed a safe distance away. Well, you and the baggage you carry. Lord Third briefed me. So you know, Naruto said bitterly. You know I'm a feeder. I know you have a unique dietary restriction, Kakashi said lightly. And I know your father was my teacher. Naruto froze. You knew him? Kakashi's eye opened. It was dark and filled with a sadness that matched Hiruzen's. I did. Minato-sensei was a great man. And Kushina-san, she was terrifying. You have her temper, by the way. They said I'm illegal, Naruto said. Are you here to kill me if I mess up? Kakashi sighed. He shoved his hands in his pockets. Technically? Yes. That's the order. If you go red, I put you down. Naruto flinched. But Kakashi continued, his voice softening. I'm not known for following orders blindly. Minato-sensei taught me that those who abandon their comrades are worse than scum. You're his son. That makes you my responsibility. Kakashi pulled a kunai from his pouch. He spun it on his finger. I'm going to teach you, Naruto. Not how to be a Hokage. Not how to be a hero. I'm going to teach you how to not be hungry. Can you do that? Naruto asked, a glimmer of hope sparking in his chest. I don't know, Kakashi admitted honestly. Nobody has ever trained a devouring Uzumaki before. Usually, they're killed in the cradle. We're making this up as we go. Kakashi turned to walk away. Meet at the academy tomorrow, 8 a.m. Don't eat breakfast. Or, well, in your case, don't eat anyone for breakfast. Naruto watched him go. Kakashi, he whispered the name. He looked back at the pile of dust that used to be a log. For the first time since the incident, he didn't feel entirely alone. He was a monster, yes. He was a walking weapon, yes. But he had a handler. Naruto picked up a handful of the dust and let it slip through his fingers. I won't eat them, he vowed to the empty training ground. I'll starve before I hurt them. His stomach gave a violent, painful lurch, a reminder of the beast inside. Naruto clenched his fist. The pain was good. The pain meant he was still in control. He turned and walked back toward the village, the sun setting behind him, casting a long, dark shadow that looked suspiciously like a fox with 9 tails, wrapped in chains. The classroom at the Ninja Academy was loud, a chaotic symphony of preteen excitement, screeching chairs, and the rustle of stiff new ninja gear. It smelled of chalk dust and anxious sweat. To Naruto Uzumaki, it smelled like a buffet. He sat in the far back corner, as far away from the other students as the physical dimensions of the room allowed. He wore his new forehead protector, but he also wore something else, thick, black leather gloves. They were heavy, insulated with a thin lining of lead and chakra suppression paper that he had purchased from a specialized shinobi supply store with his meager savings. His hands were clenched into fists on the desk. Don't look at them, he told himself, staring intently at the wood grain of his desk. Don't look at their lights. But it was impossible. With the loosening of the seal and the awakening of his bloodline, Naruto's sensory perception had shifted. He didn't just see his classmates, he felt them. Ino Yamanaka was a bright, flickering candle of spiritual energy, pungent and floral. Choji Akimichi was a dense, heavy bonfire of physical stamina, smelling of earth and oil. And Sasuke Uchiha, Naruto risked a glance to the row ahead. Sasuke sat alone, brooding. To Naruto's eyes, Sasuke was a cold, blue star. His chakra was sharp, refined, and incredibly potent. It didn't waver like the others. It hummed. Naruto's stomach gave a violent, audible lurch. It wasn't the rumble of digestion. It was the growl of a predator sensing prey. Ugh, Naruto, did you forget to eat breakfast? Naruto flinched violently. Sakura Haruno was standing over him, hands on her hips. In his altered vision, she was a tightly coiled spring of perfectly controlled energy. Small, but bright. Stay back, Naruto rasped, shrinking against the wall. He pulled his collar up over his nose. Sakura blinked, taken aback. Usually, Naruto would be jumping over tables to ask her for a date. Excuse me? I was just asking a question. You don't have to be a jerk about it. Just, don't touch me, Naruto mumbled into his collar. Please, Sakura frowned, her annoyance shifting to confusion. You're acting weird. Weirder than usual. Is this some new prank? Leave him alone, Sakura, a cool voice cut in. Sasuke didn't turn around, but his voice carried. He's obviously having a breakdown. Don't catch his stupidity. Sasuke-kun! Sakura squealed, forgetting Naruto instantly. Naruto exhaled a shaky breath. He looked at Sasuke's back. He thinks I'm weak. Good. Better weak than hungry. Irika entered the room, looking pale and moving stiffly. He had bandages around his midsection under his mesh armor. When his eyes met Naruto's, there was a momentary flicker of fear before Irika masked it with a professional smile. That flicker cut Naruto deeper than any kunai. Congratulations, Irika said, his voice lacking its usual boom. From today on, you are all ninja. You will be formed into 3-man squads. Naruto tuned him out until his name was called. Team 7, Irika announced. Naruto Uzumaki. Sakura Haruno. Naruto groaned internally. Sakura cheered. And Sasuke Uchiha? Sakura shrieked in victory. Naruto put his head on the desk. Great. The brightest light and the sharpest light. I'm stuck in a squad with the 2 most appetizing people in the class. Your Jounin-sensei will meet you here after lunch, Irika finished. The wait was agonizing. Hours ticked by. Other teams were picked up. Team 7 remained. Sasuke sat on a desk, staring at the door. Sakura paced. Naruto sat in the corner, clutching his stomach, sweating. The suppression seals Hiruzen had placed on his torso were itching, reacting to his rising anxiety. Calm down, the fox's voice drifted through his mind, surprisingly lucid. Your heart rate is elevating. If you hyperventilate, you'll draw in more natural energy. You'll pop the seals. Shut up, Naruto thought back. You're the reason I'm like this. I am the reason you aren't dead, the fox countered lazily. But by all means, lose control. Eat the pink one. She looks like she tastes like strawberries and insecurity. Naruto gagged. Finally, the door slid open. A head with silver gravity-defying hair poked in. A visible eye crinkled in a lazy smile. Yo, Kakashi Hatake said. Sorry I'm late. I got lost on the path of life. Sakura and Naruto, out of habit, yelled, liar. Kakashi stepped in, looking them over. His gaze lingered on Naruto's gloved hands and the sweat on his brow. Kakashi hummed. First impressions, you're a bunch of idiots. Meet me on the roof. The rooftop breeze was cool, which helped. Naruto sat on the concrete railing, keeping a 5-foot distance from Sasuke and Sakura, who sat on the bench. Kakashi leaned against the railing opposite them. Alright. Let's do introductions. Likes, dislikes, dreams for the future, hobbies. That sort of thing. You go first, sensei, Sakura said. Show us how it's done. Me? Kakashi pointed at himself. My name is Kakashi Hatake. Likes and dislikes. I don't feel like telling you that. My dreams for the future, never really thought about it. As for hobbies, I have many hobbies. He just gave us his name, Sakura whispered to Sasuke. Alright, you next, Kakashi pointed at Naruto. The one sweating through his jacket. Naruto stiffened. He looked at his teammates. He adjusted his headband. I'm Naruto Uzumaki, he said quietly. He didn't shout it. Likes? Kakashi prompted. I like instant ramen, Naruto said. Because it's dead. It doesn't have chakra. Sakura raised an eyebrow. Okay. Dislikes? Naruto looked at his hands. I dislike empty stomachs. And being alone. And myself sometimes. The mood on the roof plummeted. Sasuke turned his head to look at Naruto, his eyes narrowing. This wasn't the dobe he knew. And your dream? Kakashi asked softly. Naruto took a deep breath. The old answer was on the tip of his tongue. I want to be Hokage. But he heard Hiruzen's voice in his head. A wolf cannot guard the sheep. My dream, Naruto said, his voice trembling slightly, is to find a way to exist without hurting anyone. I want to master my condition. So I don't have to be afraid anymore. Kakashi nodded slowly. A worthy goal. He shifted his gaze. Next. Pinky. Sakura launched into her introduction, which mostly consisted of giggling and looking at Sasuke. Her dream was clearly to marry him. Then Sasuke. My name is Sasuke Uchiha. I hate a lot of things, and I don't particularly like anything. The temperature seemed to drop. What I have is not a dream, because I will make it a reality. I'm going to restore my clan, and kill a certain man. Naruto looked at Sasuke. He saw the darkness in Sasuke's chakra. It wasn't the hunger Naruto had. It was a cold, sharp void of hatred. It was relatable. He's broken too, Naruto thought. Just in a different way. Good, Kakashi said, breaking the tension. You're all unique. Tomorrow, we start our first mission. Survival training. Mission? Sakura asked. We did survival training in the academy. This is different, Kakashi said, his eye curving into a sinister shape. This is a pass-fail test. Of the 27 graduates, only 9 will become genin. The rest will be sent back to the academy. The chance of failure is at least 66%. What? Sakura shrieked. Meet at the designated training ground at 5 a.m., Kakashi said. And bring your ninja gear. He turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and don't eat breakfast. He looked directly at Naruto. You'll just puke it up. The next morning, the mist hung low over the training ground. It was damp and cold. Naruto stood apart from the others, his stomach twisting in knots. He hadn't eaten. The hunger was awake. It felt like a physical claw scratching the inside of his ribs. Every time Sasuke shifted or Sakura sighed, Naruto felt a spike of desire to consume. Kakashi appeared in a puff of smoke at 10 a.m., 5 hours late. You're late. Sakura yelled. A black cat crossed my path, Kakashi said, ignoring her. He set an alarm clock on a wooden post. Here's the deal. I have 2 bells. He held up 2 small silver bells. They jingled. Your task is to take these from me before noon. Those who don't get a bell get no lunch. And they get tied to that post while I eat in front of them. But there are only 2 bells, Sakura pointed out. And 3 of us. Exactly, Kakashi said. At least one of you will be tied to the post and disqualified. That person goes back to the academy. Naruto clenched his gloved fists. Back to the academy? No. If I go back, they'll lock me up again. The old man said this was my parole. Red eat. Kakashi said. Start. Sasuke and Sakura vanished instantly, hiding in the bushes. Naruto stood there. You're not hiding? Kakashi asked, pulling out his orange book, Ika Paradise. I can't, Naruto muttered. If I hide, I'll focus on their chakra signatures. It's better if I look at you. A direct approach, Kakashi noted. Not wise, but brave, Naruto charged. He didn't draw a kunai. He didn't want to cut Kakashi. Blood meant life force, and life force meant temptation. He threw a clumsy punch. Kakashi caught it easily with one hand, not even looking up from his book. Too slow. Don't touch me! Naruto yelled, wrenching his hand back as if burned. Kakashi frowned. He noticed the instant repulsion. You're afraid of contact, Naruto? That's going to make taijutsu difficult. Shut up! Naruto spun and tried a kick. Kakashi ducked. From the bushes, Sasuke watched. What is he doing? He's fighting like he's terrified. He's pulling his punches at the last second. The fight dragged on. Naruto was relentless but ineffective. He was fighting 2 battles, one against Kakashi, and one against his own body. Every time he got close to Kakashi, the dense, white chakra of the Jonin washed over him like the smell of a roasting steak. It made his head spin. Eventually, Kakashi got bored. He vanished behind Naruto. Leaf Village Secret Finger Jutsu. 1,000 years of death. Kakashi poked Naruto in the rear, sending him launching into the river. Naruto splashed into the water. The cold shock helped clear his head. But as he surfaced, he saw Sasuke make his move. Shuriken flew from the trees. Kakashi deflected them. Sasuke engaged Kakashi in a furious bout of taijutsu. It was impressive. Sasuke even managed to touch a bell. Then, Kakashi created distance. Sasuke went through hand signs. Horse. Tiger. Fire style. Fireball jutsu. A massive ball of orange flame erupted from Sasuke's mouth, roaring toward Kakashi. Impressive, Kakashi muttered, dodging underground. The fireball missed Kakashi, but it kept going. Straight toward the riverbank where Naruto was climbing out. Naruto, move! Sakura screamed from her hiding spot. Naruto looked up. The wall of fire was rushing at him. The heat was intense. Instinct took over. A normal ninja would dodge. A normal ninja would use a water wall. Naruto didn't do either. The Uzumaki bloodline, agitated by the stress and the hunger, reacted to the incoming energy source. Fire was just energy. Energy was food. Naruto opened his mouth. He didn't mean to. His jaw unhinged slightly, wider than humanly possible. A vacuum of pressure formed in his throat. The fireball hit him. But it didn't burn. Sasuke watched in horror as the flames swirled into Naruto. It looked like water going down a drain. The fire spiraled, compressed, and was sucked directly into Naruto's mouth and the pores of his skin. In 2 seconds, the massive fireball was gone. Naruto stood on the riverbank, steam rising from his clothes. His skin was glowing a faint, angry red. He burped, and a puff of black smoke escaped his lips. He ate it, Sasuke whispered, his eyes wide. He ate the jutsu. Kakashi burst out of the ground, but he wasn't attacking. He was staring at Naruto with his lone eye wide open. Naruto, Kakashi said, his voice dropping its lazy act. How do you feel? Naruto swayed. The fire chakra was turbulent inside him. It was hot, spicy, and incredibly filling. The hunger receded for a moment, replaced by a surge of raw power. Full, Naruto slurred. His eyes flashed red. Hot. Spit it out, Kakashi commanded. Your pathways aren't designed to hold raw elemental chakra like that. Vent it. No, Naruto growled. Mine. The adamantine chains rattled audibly, though they remained invisible inside him. The seals on his chest burned. Kakashi moved. He was there in an instant, slapping a paper seal onto Naruto's forehead. Seal. Naruto's eyes rolled back, and he collapsed into Kakashi's arms. Kakashi looked down at the boy. He could feel the heat radiating off him. He absorbed a C-rank ninjutsu completely. If he learns to control this, he's a mage killer. If he doesn't, he's a bomb. Naruto woke up tied to the log. The alarm clock rang. Rying. Lunchtime, Kakashi said cheerfully. Sasuke and Sakura were sitting on the grass, holding bento boxes. They looked at Naruto with a mixture of fear and awe. You guys pass, Kakashi said to Sasuke and Sakura. But Naruto, you failed. You tried to eat my attack instead of dodging. You're a glutton for punishment. I was hungry, Naruto mumbled, head hanging low. Anyway, Kakashi said. I'm going to eat. You two can eat. But do not feed Naruto. If you feed him, you fail immediately. He needs to learn discipline. Kakashi disappeared in a puff of smoke. Silence descended. Sasuke opened his bento. He looked at the rice. Then he looked at Naruto, whose stomach was making sounds like a dying whale. Sasuke sighed. He held out his box. Here, Sakura gasped. Sasuke-kun, Sensei said. I know what he said, Sasuke snapped. But if this idiot starves, he might try to eat us next time. Did you see that fireball? He needs energy to keep that, whatever it is, under control. Sakura looked at Naruto. She saw the desperation in his eyes. She sighed and held out her own box. Fine. Just take a bite. Naruto looked at them. Tears welled up in his eyes. You guys, hurry up before he comes back, Sasuke hissed. Naruto leaned forward and took a bite of Sasuke's rice. Poof! Storm clouds gathered. Lightning flashed. Kakashi appeared before them, looking like a demon. You! He bellowed. You broke the rules. Sasuke stood up. Kunai ready? We're a team. If one suffers, we all suffer. Yeah. Sakura stood up too, trembling. We're Team 7. Kakashi stared at them. The tension was thick enough to cut. Then, the storm clouds vanished. Kakashi smiled, his eye closing into a crescent. You pass. Huh! Naruto blinked. Those who break the rules are scum, Kakashi quoted. But those who abandon their comrades are worse than scum. You fed the monster to keep the team safe. That's good judgment. He untied Naruto. Team 7 starts its first mission tomorrow. 2 weeks later the mission assignment. I'm bored! Naruto yelled, slamming his hands on the Hokage's desk. The room went silent. Irika, who was organizing papers, froze. Hiruzen Sarutobi looked up from his paperwork. Naruto, Kakashi warned, placing a hand on Naruto's shoulder. Naruto flinched but didn't pull away. No, I mean it. Naruto argued, though he kept his distance from the desk. Weeding gardens? Walking dogs? Picking up trash? It's torture, Gigi. Every time I pull a weed, I feel its life force snap. Every time I walk a dog, I want to, I need something real. I need to focus on something other than not eating. Hiruzen sighed, taking a puff of his pipe. He looked at Kakashi. Is he ready? Kakashi hesitated. His control is improving. The gloves help. He hasn't had an incident since the bell test. Please, Naruto begged. Just a C rank. An escort mission. Something where I can leave the village. The air here, it tastes stale. Too many people. Hiruzen closed his eyes. He knew the risk. The edict forbade Naruto from leaving without heavy guard. But keeping a pressure cooker sealed too tight would only cause an explosion. Very well, Hiruzen said. I have a client. A bridge builder from the land of waves. He signaled the door. Tazuna entered. He was drunk, smelling of sake and cheap tobacco. This is my protection? Tazuna slurred, looking at the team. A gloom and doom kid, a pink girl, and a brat who looks like he's about to rob me? Naruto pulled his collar up. I'm not gonna rob you, old man. Just don't get too close. Whatever, Tazuna grunted. Just get me to Wave in one piece. The road to Wave. The journey was tense. Naruto walked 10 paces behind the group. The further they got from Konoha, the better he felt. The forest air was cleaner, thinner on chakra. The dense concentration of ninja in the village was like noise pollution to his senses. Out here, it was quiet. He could smell the water in the air. The land of waves was near. Hey Dobe, Sasuke slowed down, falling into step beside Naruto, but keeping distance. You've been quiet. Trying to save energy, Naruto muttered. That thing you did with the fireball, Sasuke said, his voice low. Can you do it with anything? I don't know, Naruto admitted. I don't want to find out. It felt wrong. Like eating spoiled meat. Sasuke looked ahead. It was strong though. Suddenly, Naruto stopped. The hairs on his arms stood up. A scent drifted on the wind. It wasn't natural. It smelled like stagnant water and killing intent. Naruto? Sakura asked, turning around. Naruto's eyes darted to a puddle on the path ahead. It hadn't rained in days. A trap. He wanted to shout. But if he shouted, he'd reveal his sensing range. They'd ask questions. How did you know? Just let Kakashi handle it, he told himself. They walked past the puddle. Suddenly, water erupted. 2 figures burst out, wrapped in chains. The demon brothers. One down! One of them shouted. Their chains wrapped around Kakashi. With a sickening crunch, they pulled. Kakashi was torn to pieces. Sensei! Sakura screamed. Naruto froze. The sight of the violence didn't scare him. It was the chains. They were steel, not chakra, but they moved just like his. It triggered a memory of the woods, of Mizuki withering. The demon brothers landed behind Sasuke. 2 down! Sasuke moved. He was fast. He threw a shuriken to pin their chain to a tree, then kicked them in the face. But one of the brothers, Gozu, detached his gauntlet and charged at Tazuna. Sakura stepped in front of the bridge builder, kunai raised, shaking. Stay back! She yelled. Gozu ignored her. He raised a poison claw. Naruto! Sasuke yelled. Do something! Naruto watched Gozu charge. In Naruto's eyes, Gozu was a pulsing sack of water-natured chakra. If I touch him, Naruto thought, panic seizing his limbs, I'll latch on. I'll drain him. I'll kill him in front of Sasuke and Sakura. I can't. Naruto stood rooted to the spot. He was paralyzed not by cowardice, but by the terror of his own nature. Gozu swiped at Sakura. Sasuke threw himself in the way. Slash. The claw raked across Sasuke's arm. Blood sprayed. Sasuke! Sakura shrieked. Sasuke grunted, kicking Gozu away, but he stumbled, the poison already working. The sight of Sasuke's blood hit Naruto like a physical blow. The smell. Iron. Salt. Life. Something deep in Naruto's gut snapped. They hurt the herd, the fox roared in his mind. Eat them. Naruto's head snapped up. His eyes were no longer blue. They were blood red, with vertical slits. The air around him grew heavy. The birds in the trees stopped singing. Gozu turned to look at the trembling boy. What's with this kid? He's shaking. Mistake, Naruto whispered. The voice wasn't his. It was distorted, layered with a metallic echo. Clink. A golden, spectral chain erupted from Naruto's lower back. It didn't fully materialize. It was ghostly, fading in and out of reality. But the pressure it exerted flattened the grass in a 10-foot radius. Sasuke, clutching his bleeding arm, looked back. His eyes widened. Naruto? The chain lashed out. It didn't aim for Gozu. It aimed for the space around him. It struck the ground, and the earth turned gray. The chakra in the soil was sucked instantly into the chain. Naruto took a step forward. The hunger was screaming. One touch. Just one touch and the pain stops. You made him bleed, Naruto hissed. The golden chain rose like a cobra, poised to strike Gozu's chest. Naruto, don't! Kakashi's voice. Kakashi stepped out from behind a tree. He had used a substitution jutsu earlier. He didn't look at the enemies. He looked at Naruto. Restrain it. Kakashi ordered, his voice sharp and commanding. Code red, Naruto. Push it back. Naruto trembled. The chain wavered. He looked at Gozu, who was now backing away in terror at the monstrous aura radiating from the boy. Then he looked at Sasuke, who was pale and bleeding. I'm doing it, Naruto realized. I'm losing control. If I eat this guy, they'll execute me. He needed a distraction. He needed a shock greater than the hunger. Naruto raised his left hand. He drew a kunai with his right. No! Sakura screamed, thinking he was going to attack the enemy. Naruto didn't attack. He plunged the kunai into the back of his own left hand. Shunk. Blood flowed. Pain, sharp, blinding, clarifying pain, shot up his arm. The golden chain flickered and vanished. The red faded from his eyes, replaced by a dull, pain blue. Naruto fell to his knees, gasping. The adrenaline crash was instant. Kakashi moved efficiently. He appeared behind the demon brothers and knocked them both unconscious with 2 swift chops to the neck. They fell like sacks of potatoes, but Kakashi didn't tie them up immediately. He rushed to Naruto. You idiot, Kakashi said, but his voice was gentle. He grabbed Naruto's injured hand. Why? Naruto looked up, sweat dripping from his nose. He was panting, his face pale. The hunger, Naruto wheezed. It was too loud. The pain made it quiet. Sasuke stumbled over, Sakura supporting him. They looked at Naruto's hand, the kunai still embedded in it. You stabbed yourself? Sakura asked, horrified. Why? To save them, Kakashi answered for him. He pulled the kunai out. Naruto didn't scream. He just gritted his teeth. The wound was already closing, steam rising from it as the fox's chakra knit the flesh back together. Kakashi quickly wrapped a bandage around it. That was dangerous, Naruto. But effective. Kakashi stood up and turned to Tazuna, who was shaking with fear. Mr. Tazuna, Kakashi said coldly. These were Chunin-level assassins from the mist. This is not a C-rank mission. You have a lot of explaining to do, and Kakashi pointed at Naruto, who was staring at his healing hand. We need to get him away from the smell of blood. Now, Naruto stood up, swaying. He looked at Sasuke. You okay? Naruto asked weakly. Sasuke looked at his own arm, then at Naruto's hand. He smirked, though it looked painful. I'm not the one who stabbed myself, scaredy cat. But there was no bite in the insult. Sasuke had seen the chain. He had felt the pressure. He knew Naruto wasn't scared of the enemy. He was scared of what he would do to them. Let's go, Kakashi said, herding them forward. We need to cross the sea before nightfall. As they walked, Naruto held his bandaged hand to his chest. The pain was throbbing, a steady rhythm that drowned out the whispers of the chains. I can control it, he told himself. As long as I can bleed, I can control it. But as they boarded the boat to the land of waves, the mist grew thicker, and deep within the fog, Zabuza Momochi was waiting. And Zabuza knew exactly what a whirlpool devil was. The unfinished bridge stretched out into the mist like a jagged ribcage, suspended over the churning gray waters of the ocean. The air was thick with salt, moisture, and the oppressive silence that precedes a massacre. Naruto Uzumaki stood next to Sasuke, his breathing shallow. The damp air of the land of waves usually felt cleaner to him, less cluttered with the chakra signatures of thousands of ninja, but today, the mist tasted like iron. They're coming, Naruto whispered, his voice trembling slightly. Sasuke glanced at him, noting the sweat beading on Naruto's forehead. Scared dope? Hungry, Naruto corrected, clutching his stomach. The suppression seals on his torso were burning, reacting to the sheer density of the killing intent rolling off the fog. There's so much intent. It tastes sour. Keep it together, Sasuke hissed, drawing a kunai. If you lose control, I'll have to put you down before the enemy does. I know, Naruto gritted his teeth. I know. Ahead of them, the fog swirled. Zabuza Momochi emerged, his massive Kubikiribocho sword resting on his shoulder. Beside him stood the masked hunter Nin, Haku. I didn't expect you to bring the brats again, Kakashi, Zabuza's voice rasped, vibrating through the mist. Especially the blonde one. He smells wrong. Kakashi stepped forward, lifting his headband to reveal the Sharingan. Sorry, Zabuza. The kids are part of the package. And I'd advise you not to worry about my student. Worry about whether you'll leave this bridge alive. Zabuza chuckled, A wet, dark sound. Oh, I intend to. But first. Haku. Yes, Zabuza-san. Take care of the boys. Do it quickly. I don't like the way the blonde one is looking at me. It's like he's undressing my soul. Haku bowed. Then, in a blur of speed that defied the eye, he began to spin. The water moisture in the air froze instantly. Secret jutsu, crystal ice mirrors. Naruto found himself trapped inside a dome of ice. Mirrors surrounded them on all sides, reflecting his and Sasuke's confused expressions a dozen times over. Inside each mirror, a masked Haku appeared. Damn it, Sasuke cursed, his eyes darting around. Speed. He's using reflection to move at light speed. Naruto wasn't looking at the mirrors. He was doubled over, gagging. The inside of the ice dome was a sensory nightmare. The chakra Haku was using to maintain the mirrors was incredibly dense, cold, and pure. It bounced off the ice walls, echoing, amplifying. To Naruto, whose senses were attuned to consuming energy, it felt like being trapped inside a microwave. It's too loud, Naruto covered his ears. The chakra, it's screaming. Naruto, get up! Sasuke yelled. He's attacking! Needles rained down. Thwip thwip thwip. Pain erupted across Naruto's arms and legs. Saban needles pierced his skin, digging into muscle. Gah! Naruto fell back. Move! Sasuke tackled him, knocking him out of the path of a second volley. I can't track him, Sasuke panted, a needle sticking out of his shoulder. He's too fast. Naruto looked at the needles sticking out of his own arm. He felt a strange sensation. The needles were made of steel, but they were coated in Haku's ice chakra. His body reacted instinctively. The skin around the puncture wounds began to ripple. The faint blue glow of the chakra on the needles was suddenly sucked into his flesh. The pain faded slightly. Food, his cells screamed. More. Sasuke, Naruto gasped. I can eat the attacks. What? Sasuke fired a fireball at the mirrors, but Haku dodged effortlessly. Don't be an idiot. If you start eating, you won't stop. Remember the training. If I don't, Naruto argued, dodging another volley clumsily, we're going to die. He's aiming for vital points. We'll find another way. Sasuke shouted. Fire style, Phoenix Flower Jutsu, but nothing worked. The ice was immune to their level of fire. Haku was relentless. The boy in the mask moved like a phantom, dissecting them piece by piece. 10 minutes passed. Sasuke was a pincushion. His breathing was ragged. He had unlocked his Sharingan, his eyes now red with swirling tomo, allowing him to track Haku's movements, but his body couldn't keep up. Naruto was in worse shape. He had taken fewer hits because Sasuke kept intercepting them, but the proximity to so much hostile chakra was driving him insane. His vision was blurring red. The suppression seal was failing. Naruto, Sasuke wheezed, standing in front of him. Don't let the chains out. Promise me. Why? Naruto sobbed, tears mixing with the blood on his face. I can save us. I can just drain him. Because Sasuke turned, flashing a bloody grin. If you do that, the village wins. They called you a monster. Don't prove them right. It was a twisted sort of logic, born of Uchiha pride and a strange, newfound loyalty. Sasuke didn't want Naruto to survive by becoming the horror everyone feared. He wanted Naruto to survive as a ninja. Then, Haku moved for the kill. A volley of Saban, aimed directly at Naruto's neck. Naruto was on his knees, paralyzed by the conflicting urges of his biology and his promise. He couldn't move, but Sasuke could. The sound of metal piercing flesh was sickeningly wet. Naruto opened his eyes. Sasuke stood before him. His arms were spread wide. His chest was riddled with needles. Blood coughed from his lips, splattering onto Naruto's cheek. Sasuke? Naruto's voice was a broken whisper. Sasuke swayed. He looked back at Naruto, his Sharingan fading. You didn't dodge, you loser. Why? Naruto shrieked. Why did you save me? Sasuke collapsed. Naruto caught him, his hands slick with blood. I don't know, Sasuke whispered, his eyes unfocused. My body just moved. He reached up, his hand brushing Naruto's whisker-marked cheek. And that was the catalyst. Naruto felt it. Skin to skin? Blood to blood? He felt Sasuke's chakra. It was a dying fire. A small, flickering ember of blue heat that was rapidly growing cold. He felt the life force leaving Sasuke's body, dissipating into the air, and he felt the hunger lurch. It wanted to eat the last of Sasuke's chakra. No! Naruto screamed internally. Not him. Anyone but him. He shoved the hunger away from Sasuke, directing it outward. He looked at Haku, who stood in the mirror, watching with a mixture of pity and resolve. Is this the first time you've seen a comrade die? Haku asked softly. This is the way of the ninja. Naruto laid Sasuke gently on the cold concrete. He lowered his head. The way of the ninja, Naruto repeated. His voice sounded like gravel grinding together. Yes, Haku said, raising a needle. Now join him. Shut up, Naruto whispered. The air inside the ice dome changed. The temperature dropped, not from the ice, but from a void that sucked the heat out of the atmosphere. I said. Shut up. Snap. The sound wasn't physical. It was the sound of the third Hokage's seal shattering under the pressure of a tsunami. Red chakra exploded from Naruto. But it wasn't the bubbling, chaotic cloak of the Nine Tails. It was darker. It was streaked with heavy, metallic gold. Haku took a step back inside the mirror. What is this chakra? It feels sticky. Naruto stood up. His fingernails elongated into claws. His teeth grew into fangs. The whisker marks on his cheeks thickened until they looked like open wounds. But the most terrifying change was on his back. The jacket ripped open. 4 chains erupted. Clank. Rattle. Hiss. They were semi-solid, made of golden light but heavy enough to crack the concrete beneath Naruto's feet. They writhed in the air like starving pythons, the ceiling script etched along their links glowing with a malevolent purple light. Naruto lifted his head. His eyes were gone. In their place were 2 pools of glowing red light, void of pupils, void of humanity. Hungry, Naruto roared. Outside the mirrors, Zabuza froze mid-swing. He felt it. Every ninja in the Mist Village was raised on stories of the old war. Stories of the clan that could eat armies. Zabuza turned his head, looking at the ice dome. No. It can't be. Zabuza? Kakashi took advantage of the distraction, slicing Zabuza's arm with a kunai. But Zabuza didn't even flinch. Kakashi, Zabuza said, his voice dropping to a whisper of genuine horror. Tell me you didn't bring a whirlpool survivor here. Kakashi stopped. He saw the golden light bleeding through the gaps in the ice mirrors. Naruto, you fool! Zabuza screamed, abandoning the fight. He backed away. Do you know what that is? That isn't a Jinchuriki. That's a world eater. If that boy fully awakens, he won't just kill Haku. He'll drain the ocean dry. Inside the dome, Haku was trembling. For the first time in his life, Haku felt truly defenseless. His ice style was strong, but this was something else. The chakra radiating from the orange-clad boy wasn't pushing Haku back. It was pulling him in. Stay back! Haku yelled, throwing a volley of needles. The needles hit Naruto. They didn't pierce him. The moment the metal touched Naruto's skin, the golden chains snapped forward. They intercepted the needles, wrapping around them. In a split second, the needles rusted. They turned to brown flakes and disintegrated. The chakra within them was swallowed by the chains, feeding the boy. He ate the metal? Haku gasped. Naruto roared again, a sound layered with the Kyuubi's hatred. He looked at the mirrors surrounding him. To the beast Naruto had become, the mirrors weren't reflections. They were walls of high-density chakra. They were food. Mine, Naruto hissed. One of the chains lashed out. It struck the mirror directly in front of him. Normally, the adamantine chains were used to bind tailed beasts. But Naruto's mutation made them porous, like sponges. The chain latched onto the ice. Slurp. The sound was audible. The beautiful, crystal-clear mirror didn't shatter. It turned gray. Then black. Then, it collapsed into slush, stripped entirely of the chakra that held the water molecules in a solid state. Haku cried out in pain as his jutsu was forcibly violated. My mirrors! More! Naruto screamed. He spun around. The 4 chains whipped out in a circle. They slammed into the remaining mirrors. It was a massacre of magic. The ice crystal mirrors, a Kekii Genkai feared for its impenetrability, crumbled like dry sand. Naruto was drinking the jutsu dry. Haku was forced out of the mirrors as they collapsed. He landed on the bridge, rolling. He tried to stand, but his legs felt heavy. The ambient chakra in the air was gone. Naruto had inhaled it all. Monster, Haku whispered, looking up. Naruto was hovering a few inches off the ground, suspended by the chains. He turned his red eyes toward Haku. You, Naruto pointed a clawed hand. You hurt the herd. He moved. He didn't run. The chains propelled him, stabbing into the ground and launching him forward like a spider. Haku tried to form signs. I sigh. A chain wrapped around Haku's throat. Another wrapped around his waist. A third around his legs. Haku was lifted into the air. No! Zabuza's voice echoed from outside the fading mist, but he was too far away. Naruto hovered face to face with Haku. The golden light of the chains pulsed rhythmically. Thump. 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 With every pulse, blue chakra was visibly ripped from Haku's body, flowing into the chains and into Naruto. Haku screamed. It wasn't a scream of physical injury. It was the feeling of his very soul being siphoned off. His skin began to pale rapidly. His muscles twitched and shrunk. Give it to me! Naruto roared, the fox's influence driving him to consume everything. Give me your life! Haku's mask cracked under the pressure. Pieces of porcelain fell away, revealing the terrified, tear-streaked face of a beautiful young boy. Naruto paused. Through the red haze of the Kyuubi's rage and the blinding hunger of the Uzumaki bloodline, a single image cut through. A boy in a pink kimono, picking herbs in the forest. I'm picking them for someone precious to me. Naruto looked at Haku's face. He saw the fear. But he also saw the resignation. Haku wasn't afraid of dying. He was afraid of failing Zabuza, someone precious. Naruto looked past Haku, at the fallen body of Sasuke. Sasuke protected me because I am precious to him? The thought was like a bucket of ice water. If I eat him, a voice that sounded remarkably like Iruka whispered in his mind, then I am exactly what they say I am. I am not a predator. I am Naruto Uzumaki. No! Naruto screamed, grabbing his own head with his hands. He fought the chains. They wanted to finish the meal. They were starving. They pulled tighter. Let him go! Naruto bellowed. He bit his own lip. Hard. He bit through the skin, filling his mouth with blood. The pain sharpened his mind. He forced his chakra flow to reverse. With a mental heave that felt like lifting a mountain, Naruto commanded the chains to retract. They hissed in protest, but they obeyed. The golden links slackened and dissolved into mist. Haku fell to the concrete, gasping for air, looking like a skeleton with skin draped over it. He was alive, but barely. His chakra reserves were at critical zero.